Welcome to your deep dive. This time, we're headed to, well, it's a pretty intriguing location, the Isle of Beauty.
Intriguing is one way to put it.
Yeah, your source material excerpts from some kind of role-playing game adventure, and your notes, they tell me you're interested in immortality, huh?
A bit ambitious, wouldn't you say?
Ambitious is good. And we've got a lot to work with. Maps, dungeon layouts, descriptions of all sorts of creatures. It's not your everyday deep dive, that's for sure.
It's a weird one. You don't often see classic mythology mixed with, well, this kind of original fantasy. Like, we've got sirens and nymphs, pretty standard, but then there's these Tichondrian constructs.
Yeah, those are new.
Definitely not something you'd find in, like, your typical Greek myth.
Right. It's like they took ancient magic and then, I don't know, combined it with something else.
Yeah.
Something maybe even a little bit more advanced.
Interesting way to put it.
Okay, so the adventure, it all revolves around this character, Barnabas Blackheart. He's the one we're following. And, well, he's really into this whole immortality thing.
As many are.
And beautiful women, apparently.
Ah, the age-old motivators. Immortality and beauty.
Can't forget those.
Well, desire is powerful, right?
Uh,
But it can make you, let's say, a little careless, especially when you're talking about something as big as immortality.
Definitely high stakes.
This Barnabas character, I'm getting a bad feeling about him.
Well, speaking of dangerous paths, we've got this hex map that lays out the whole island.
Okay, let's have a look.
So we've got giant turtles, pirate hideouts. Oh, and there's a Kraken's Trench.
Classic.
But then you've got these hexes, like Maladrex's Tower and Mermaid's Cave. They've got these whole dungeon layouts.
Detailed, too. Someone put a lot of work into this.
Right. It's like they're meant to be explored.
Well, every choice has a consequence, right? Do you stay safe, explore the edges of the island? Or do you dive headfirst into these more, let's say, intense areas for a shot at something better? Classic risk versus reward. Add a little strategy to the whole thing.
And then, of course, you've got the inhabitants. There are stats and descriptions for all of them, too. Sirens, wildflower fairies, even mad sailors.
Wild.
How do you even know who to trust in a place like that?
That's the fun of it. This place, it really plays with the whole unpredictable nature of, well, mythical beings, right? Like a mermaid song. Could be beautiful, enchanting, or it could be a one-way ticket to a watery grave.
Right, right.
And then a nymph, they might offer guidance. But is it good guidance? Or is it just what they want, you know? What serves their interests, not yours?
So basically, trust no one.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, good to know.
But knowledge is key. Figure out what they want, their weaknesses, what are they guarding, that kind of thing.
Okay, good advice. Speaking of guarding, let's talk about the magical items.
My favorite part.
There's this siren sash that lets you, get this, transform into a mermaid.
Underwater exploration, here we come.
Exactly. And then there's a nymph's care that grants, wait for it, immortality.
No way. That's it then. Quest over.
Well,
There's a catch, isn't there? There always is.
there might be a slight complication.
Like what?
Well, the source material mentions something about mind control. Mind control. Yeah, that's not great.
Seems like there's always a price, right? For something like that. Immortality.
A classic Faustian bargain.
Exactly. And that brings us to, well, those dungeon layouts we were talking about. Maladrex's Tower, for example.
Ooh, right. Maladrex. What's the deal with her anyway?
The source material, it calls her a twisted witch, I believe.
Yeah, that was it. Not someone you want to run into.
Her tower, it's described as this, well, this place of faded beauty, you know? Like, it was once magnificent, but now it's kind of run down, filled with these weird experiments. A bit creepy, really.
I bet. We got bubbling potions, strange lights, that sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. But it's more than just a spooky setting, you know? It's
Yeah.
like Maladrex represents this whole other path to immortality, one that involves, well, messing with life and death, maybe.
Tampering with forces humankind was not meant to tamper with. And what about that stairwell of experimentation and that chamber? The pit. Not exactly subtle names, are they?
A little on the nose, yeah.
So what do you think? Will our boy Barnabas be tempted by Maladrex's power, I mean? Even if it means, crossing some lines.
That's the question, isn't it? It's like the island is testing him. Can he resist that temptation?
It's a tough one, for sure.
It makes you think about the choices we make, you know? The paths we choose.
And the consequences that come with them.
Right.
Okay, so we've got Maladrex's Tower, and then there's the Mermaid's Cave, too, which is, well, it's quite different.
Complete opposite, really. The cave is all beauty and, like, magic. Jewels, coral formations.
Sounds pretty tempting, actually.
Oh, for sure.
Huh.
There's also a sea serpent's lair down there.
Right. Can't forget about that.
And a mermaid queen.
Oh, yeah, she's supposed to be the key, right, to immortality. But you have to prove yourself to her somehow.
That's what they say.
What do you think she's looking for? Someone who can solve riddles. Or maybe defeat some terrifying sea monster.
Who knows? The source material, it leaves that part open. But I have a feeling brute force isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, gotta be a little smarter than that. Cunning? Diplomacy, maybe?
We're just plain lucky.
True. Okay, so 2 paths to immortality so far. One through Melidrix with her weird science, and then there's the Mermaid Queen and her ancient magic. Both pretty risky in their own ways.
Don't forget about option number 3.
Oh, right. That wild card we mentioned earlier, Midi the Succubus.
Things are about to get interesting.
That's an understatement. 101 disguises, right?
At least. And don't forget, she feeds on life force, so yeah, not someone you want to cross.
Nope. And she could be anyone, right? So how do you even know who to trust? That nice nymph who offers you some help, maybe it's her. Or maybe it's...
Meaty.
Exactly. This is messing with my head.
That's the point, isn't it? Makes you doubt everything. Everyone.
Yeah, it's like the island itself is messing with you. Testing you, maybe. Seeing what you're willing to do. What you'll risk for, a shot at immortality.
And meaty. Well, her motives are anyone's guess. What does she want? Power, revenge. Or is there something else going on here, something we haven't even thought of?
Makes you think about the whole immortality thing in a different light, It's not just about living forever. It's about the choices you make along the way, the lines you're willing to cross, who you might hurt.
Because someone always gets hurt. Midi, she literally drains the life force out of people. Talk about a parasitic existence. She's living proof that, that immortality can come at a pretty steep price for everyone involved.
Speaking of prices, what about that last location in the source material? The ruins of the Sorcerer's Tower.
Yeah.
That place sounds important, like it's at the heart of everything.
It does, doesn't it? Like all these threads we've been following, they all lead back to that tower. The source material, it even mentions a battle between, get this, succubi and nymphs, like a whole war way before Barnabas, even before Maladrex.
Wow. So there's a lot of history there. We've got secret passages, a horde of the ancients, sounds promising, but also, more succubi. And some kind of mutated creatures. It's like the tower hold all the answers, but it's also incredibly dangerous.
Sounds about right. It's like the final test. For Barnabas, I mean. He's faced all these challenges, made all these choices, and now he's at the Sorcerer's Tower. Will he make the same mistakes the Sorcerer did? Get seduced by the power? Or will he find another way?
That's the question, isn't it? Is there another way? Or are we all just destined to repeat the mistakes of the past?
And that's what this all comes down to, I think. The real question isn't how to live forever. It's how to live a life you can be proud of, a life that means something.
And that is a question worth thinking about. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Until next time, happy adventuring.